I used to work in law enforcement. In classified cases, I read testimonies no one was supposed to speak of. Now I have access to these stories, and I'm ready to share them. Whether they're true or not, that's for you to decide. Not long ago, something happened to me, just an ordinary high school kid that made me realize something important. When adults tell you not to do something, there's usually a reason. If they say, don't go there, maybe you really shouldn't. Maybe they know something you don't, and they're trying to save you from the consequences of your own recklessness. This story is exactly about that, about my own youthful stupidity. And I'll tell you all about it, in every creepy detail. I live in a small village. There aren't a lot of people here, yet somehow we had two schools. Well, we used to. Until one day something happened, and after that they closed one of them for good. As luck would have it, I was studying in the very school where those events took place. I remember it clearly. One perfectly ordinary day, I was sitting in class. Same as always, a boring teacher droning on, me half asleep at the back of the room, and the straight-A kids constantly interrupting my nap with their answers and questions. Toward the end of the lesson, though, the door suddenly burst open, and in came the literature teacher, this rather plump, elderly lady who really should have retired by now, but instead kept heroically cramming facts about long-dead writers into our thick heads. She stood there, catching her breath, then motioned to our teacher to come out into the hallway. He left, and the already wobbly door slammed shut behind him. Of course, as soon as the adults were gone, chaos erupted in the classroom, paper balls flying, swearing, kids sneaking peeks at the gradebook. There weren't many of us 17 on the roll, but on a good day, maybe 13 or 14 actually showed up. Typical rural school. And honestly, we weren't even the smallest class in town. Some classes only had 5 students, so we were still doing okay by comparison. After about 10 minutes, the door opened and our teacher came back in. Everyone instantly fell silent and pretended nothing had happened. "All right, kids," he said. "I need everyone to quietly gather your things and leave the classroom." "Why? What happened?" someone up front asked. "Doesn't matter what happened," the teacher snapped. "When I say it's time to leave, it's time to leave." Okay, muttered the kid who'd asked. "Everyone clear? One at a time out into the hallway. Wait for me there. No talking. One at a time." Starting from the front rows, everyone slung their backpacks over their shoulders and filed out. I packed up my stuff too, waiting my turn, secretly happy. Something told me there wouldn't be any more classes that day, and we'd all get sent home early. Once everyone was out in the hallway, the teacher locked the classroom door behind us. "All right," he said, his voice tense, almost scared. "We're going to leave the school through the back door. Quickly. Everyone knows where it is?" "We know," one of the girls answered. That nervousness in his voice made me uneasy too. Suddenly, I wasn't so happy about skipping the rest of the day anymore. We started walking briskly toward the back of the building. As we passed the main hallway, I stopped to tie my shoelace. When I bent down, I noticed something strange. Police officers standing in the corridor, and people in white coats. Doctors, probably. Yeah, they must have been doctors. Once we got out of the school building, everyone scattered toward their homes, but I couldn't help noticing a cluster of police cars parked near the main entrance, plus an ambulance. Something had clearly happened, and whatever it wasn't good. Ignoring what the teacher had told us, I walked over to the corner of the school and peeked around to get a better view of the front entrance. After a minute or two, I was about to leave when I saw them carrying out a stretcher. There was someone on it, covered with a sheet or whatever it is they use. Then another ambulance arrived, more paramedics jumped out, and soon after they brought out a second stretcher. From where I stood, even at a distance, I could clearly see red stains on the sheets. What I saw planted strange thoughts in my head, unease, mixed with how the teacher had acted earlier, and what I was seeing now. I realized someone had been killed. But who, and how? I had no idea. Couldn't even begin to guess. There were women standing near the police and ambulance, crying loudly, and men trying to comfort them. Yeah, no doubt about it. Someone was dead. My phone rang suddenly, interrupting my thoughts. It was Dad. "Hey, son, what's going on at school? Are you still there?" "No, Dad. They sent us all home." "Oh, thank God. Come home, son. I've been worried sick." Do you know what happened? Not really. I saw something, but I'll tell you when I get home. All right, just hurry. I'm waiting. I took one last look at the scene by the entrance. Nothing new was happening, so I turned and headed home. The walk wasn't long, about 10 minutes. When I got there, Dad rushed up to me right away. You okay, son? Yeah, I'm fine. But what actually happened? I saw police at the entrance, and they took someone away on a stretcher. Yeah, your teacher called me. Said something happened at the school. She didn't really understand what herself. They think somebody snuck into the school and killed a couple of people. So they called the police and the ambulance. And she was begging parents to come get their kids and keep them home. You know how it is, small village. Anything could happen. That really sent a chill through me. Dad looked nervous too. Look, son, just go to your room, all right? Do your homework or whatever you want. Just stay home today. Don't go anywhere. Got it? Okay. I grumbled and went to my room. I'd barely closed the door when I got a text from Ira. She's a good friend of mine. We sometimes sit at the same desk in class. Hey, any news? Do you know what happened? Not really. Do you? I texted back. No. My mom said they found 2 people dead in the bathroom. No other details yet. Wow. What are you doing tonight? Nothing. Just staying home staring at my screen. Dad told me not to go out. Yeah, same here. That teacher really scared everyone. Yeah, my mom said the same. And that was the end of our conversation. A little while later, I got another message from Ira. I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm so bored. Yeah, same here, I replied. We didn't even have proper classes today. Hey, I typed suddenly. I was the last one to leave through the back door earlier. Okay. And? Let's go back to the school tonight. What, are you serious? What, you scared? It's not that the place is sealed off now. We could get in trouble. Come on, it's not the first time we've snuck around somewhere. No, but this seems different, more serious. Fine, then I'll go alone, I wrote, knowing full well she liked me and wouldn't let me go by myself. After a few minutes, she finally replied, Okay, I'll come with you. That's more like it. Meet me in my yard at midnight. I'll leave the gate open. What about your dad? He's working the night shift. I'll be alone. All right. And that ended the conversation. I didn't really expect to find anything at the school, but just in case, I grabbed a kitchen knife, wrapped it in newspaper, and put it in my backpack. At first, I wasn't scared at all, but as midnight got closer, a weird uneasiness crept in. Outside, it was pitch black, except for a faint light from the small porch lamp in our yard. Dad had already left for work, and while I waited for Ira, I stole one of his cigarettes, sat outside smoking, and stared into the darkness. My phone buzzed. A text. I'm on my way. Okay, I'm waiting. For some reason, I really didn't feel like going anymore. My eyelids were heavy, and I kept yawning. But hey, it was my idea, so I couldn't back out now. About 10 minutes later, the gate creaked open and Ira walked in. Hey, you ready? Yeah, but why do you always look for trouble? Oh, come on, it'll be cool. We'll just check it out for half an hour and then go home. Fine, I'm already sleepy anyway. Let's go. We left my yard and headed toward the school. The building, after everything that happened today, looked eerie, completely dark. Usually there was at least one little light on in the caretaker's room, but now, nothing. So, are we really doing this? She asked. Don't chicken out now. Let's go. I walked toward the back entrance, hoping they hadn't sealed it too tight. But of course, there was a piece of paper with sealed stamped across it in big letters and a bunch of official-looking stamps. See, it's sealed, Ira said. So what? We'll peel it off carefully, go in, and put it back when we leave. I'm sure we can find some glue inside. It's a school after all. I started peeling the seal off. Luckily, since it was stuck to painted metal, it came off surprisingly cleanly without tearing. Voila, I whispered with a smirk as I opened the door. Let's go. I went in first and took Ira's hand. We stepped inside the school. At first, everything seemed fine. But after that, things started to get really weird. We moved quietly down the hallway on the first floor. We needed to get to the bathroom on the second, that's where they'd found the bodies. We walked carefully, making sure not to make a single sound. The school was completely silent, and every step we took echoed faintly off the walls. We reached the stairs to the second floor and slowly climbed up. I could feel Ira's hand trembling in mine. Her breathing was quick and shallow, and I could tell her heart must have been racing. Honestly, so was mine. But still, we made it to the second floor and headed toward the bathroom. So far, everything was quiet. I opened the door, pulled out my phone to use the flashlight, and froze. The whole bathroom floor was covered in blood. Apparently, they hadn't finished cleaning it up yet. Actually, the blood had already dried and clotted. The walls were splattered. In the middle of it all lay these strange, red chunks. I squinted and realized it looked like pieces of skin, fat, and meat. I almost threw up. The smell was awful, sharp and metallic, making my stomach churn. "Let's get out of here," Ira said, covering her face with her hand, her voice cracking on the verge of tears. "Yeah, let's go," I muttered, my own voice trembling. My heart was pounding like crazy. But it started pounding even harder when, just as we reached the bathroom door, we heard quick footsteps somewhere in the hallway. The sound echoed and carried clearly to us. Someone had just run down the corridor. But who? I carefully peeked out. The hallway was empty, dark. What was that? I don't know. You heard it too? Of course I did, she said, her voice shaky, almost crying. Let's just get out of here. But what if someone's there? What if it's the killer? Oh, stop it. The police were here all day. Why would the killer still be here in the middle of the night? Yeah, you're probably right. Come on, let's go. We left the bathroom and started heading for the exit. Honestly, at that point, I'd already regretted coming here about 100 times. Someone really had run past. Maybe it was the janitor. But why would he run? He usually just sat in his little room, drinking tea and doing crosswords. At most, he'd take a slow walk around the school once or twice, and even that was rare. But this? Someone running? Something about it was wrong. All I wanted now was to get out of that building and back home as fast as possible. We went down to the first floor. There was another emergency exit under the stairs, but I didn't know if it was locked. Probably sealed too. No, we had to go back out the way we came in. Ira was still clutching my hand, tightly. So tightly my palms were already sweaty, but she wouldn't let go. We made it to the first floor. And that's when the really horrible things started to happen, the ones I mentioned earlier. We hadn't even managed to open the door when a scream rang out in the hallway. Loud, long. I couldn't even tell whether it was a man's or a woman's voice, but it was unbearably terrifying. The scream went on for what felt like a minute. Then it came again, and fast footsteps started toward us, echoing down the corridor. I grabbed Ira's hand even tighter, and we ran toward the far end of the hallway, hoping to jump out a window. Ira screamed in terror. Giving away where we were, we skidded up to a window. I let go of her and started yanking at the handle to open it. But of course it wouldn't budge it, only tilted open a crack for ventilation. There was no other way. We should have just run for the nearest emergency exit. But I was too scared, stupidly. The footsteps grew louder and louder now. Whoever or whatever was running and screaming in that hallway was getting closer. Ira stood there crying, and I kept fumbling with the window. Then suddenly, everything went quiet. I turned my head, and there it was. I can't call it anything else. A tall, thin figure. In the darkness, I couldn't make out the details, but what I could see was that it was covered in some kind of black cloth. My whole body shaking, I turned toward Ira. She looked at me in confusion and whispered, "What?" And right after those words, it grabbed her by the arm and started twisting it backwards. Ira flailed, screamed, tried to break free, but whatever it was much too strong. Then I heard a snap. Ira screamed even louder. That's when I pulled the knife from my backpack and tried to free her, but it was useless. I swung the knife and the blade passed right through the thing, as if I were cutting through air. Ira wasn't even screaming anymore. She was just gasping, her arm hanging limp like a rag doll. Then, when she finally went unconscious, I heard another sickening crack. I glanced at her. Her head was twisted a full 180 degrees. The creature tossed her lifeless body into the corner of the corridor, and I, with everything I had, ran for my life. I ran. My heart felt like it was about to fall right out of my chest, goosebumps all over my body, but I kept running with what little strength I had left, and it was after me. Its footsteps, heavy and fast, pounded behind me, but somehow I made it to the main entrance and kicked the door with all my might, breaking the lock. With a wheeze, it swung open. I dashed out of the school. I couldn't run any farther. I stopped a little ways from the entrance to catch my breath, and that's when I finally saw what it really was. It stood in the doorway. The moonlight lit it just enough, and by now my eyes were used to the dark. There in the doorway stood the creature, at least 2 meters tall, maybe more. It was covered, like I'd said before, with a dark cloth. Beneath it I could make out a maw, eyes, and no nose. Its arms hung almost to its knees, blotched with insanely long fingers. Seeing it, I felt like there wasn't enough air in the world, but still, forcing myself, I turned and ran home. It just shut the door to the school behind itself and disappeared from sight. I got home, changed clothes, washed my face, tried to calm down a little, and then ran to my father's work. I told him everything, in detail. He took the rest of the night off, and we drove back home quickly. From there, my father called the police. He told them he'd heard noises from the school, like someone was inside. He never said a word about me. The police came. As it turned out later, they didn't find anyone. The seals were intact. The door wasn't broken. Inside, everything was exactly as we'd left it. When I heard that, I nearly collapsed. How? I kicked the door in. I tore the seals. How was it all restored? What was that thing? I didn't understand a thing. Even now, the image of it wrenching Ira's arm still stands before my eyes. God. But that wasn't the end of it. Maybe 2 weeks later, I went down to the garden. We have a shed there because my father asked me to bring him a toolbox. Oh, I forgot to mention, Ira was officially declared missing. But I found her. That very day, in the garden, at our house. Her body was already starting to decompose. The smell was unbearable. Flies buzzed all around. And she was lying there in the exact same pose as that night, when it threw her into the corner of the hallway with her arm twisted and her neck broken. How did she get here? What was she doing here? I didn't understand. Not a damn thing. I called my father, and we couldn't think of anything better to do than to bury her. We told everyone we'd found the body in the woods when we went fishing. Yes, it was a terrible thing to do, but we didn't want everyone to blame me. I didn't kill her, and no one would have believed me about the creature in the school. Where did it come from? I don't know. In all 9 years I studied there, nothing like that ever happened. Never.